too.
No, I don't, but you do.
Yeah, Rita's got her new camera, which is very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I was sweating that out.
Christina, oh, you
Yeah.
did? Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Good Shabbos.
Good
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Yeah.
Hi, Michael.
Indeed. Boy, I'll tell you, this is really a slow population here. We are, it's almost like meeting in person. We are dribbling in.
That's right.
I would like a lot smaller pictures.
A little bit of an update. I talked to Fred Schwartzberg this week, and he seems to be doing just fine, thank you. And he sounded good. He sounded clear and upbeat, and I think his daughters are spending some time with him, staying with him. So that's kind of nice.
Yes.
Thanks, Rabbi, for doing that. Give him our love.
There we go.
That's really much better than not seeing your face. Because before, your face was very dark.
Yeah, well, oh, geez.
Well, in that case, we won't be seeing your face if you drop the light bulb.
I dropped something.
Hi, Fran.
Kathy, hi.
Hi, Rita.
Oh, I'm wonderful now.
Yeah, you look great. As usual, you look great. But
And
it's
she
nice.
got a new, what'd you get, a new camera?
Yeah.
And she now you can see her better, and you can hear her better.
Hearing is what was worrying.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
her voice is very soft. So this is really much better.
Yeah, you look, and Rita, it doesn't sound like you have all that interference anymore. Because before you used to sound like the I-25 when was going down your halls. But no, this is great. No, it's,
Look,
and, the
I'll tell you.
resolution's a lot better too, Rita. Yeah.
I was cleaning this morning, and I found a copy of Rabbi Zwerin's sermon on his 80th birthday. So if he doesn't come back soon, I'll start reading it to you. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. Boy, is it long.
Well, that's pretty strange.
What?
The crystal fell out of this light, fell on the floor. I have no idea where, and I can't find it. Oh, strange. Oh, well. Jeez. Now all I need is a magenta ascot. The heck with it. You can tell who I am. That's fine.
Yeah.
So how's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Fine.
I'm good.
Oh, Yona, are you there?
Yona's not I am. I'm Yona today.
Not Yoni. Yona. Yona's there.
Yeah, so
Ellen.
hi guys.
Hi.
So
Don't need her picture, just to know.
Yes. Yeah, so I am still in the house. I was getting an update from the doctor. And I need to go be with her right now, and I want if we can record the session for her to hear later, because I might miss some. I was hoping to get an update from her physician earlier so that I could be by her bedside and have you guys talk to her. So maybe we can save it till the end. It takes me about 30 minutes to get down there. And I'm leaving the house right now.
Good. Go.
And, if we want to say something now, I can record it on her phone for her to, for us to say later. But yeah, if we can however you want to, whatever you think is best. And sorry,
Anybody want to say hello to Yona?
Hi, Yona.
Hey, Yona. Sending you Shabbos blessings.
Iona.
Hi, Yona.
Ellen, why don't you call us when you get there?
Hi, Yona.
Well, yeah, and I'm gonna stay on the Zoom in the car, just
Oh.
to be able to. Is
Please
there any way
don't.
Oh no, I'm not gonna stay on while I'm driving. I'm gonna put it down, but I don't want to lose the Zoom feed because sometimes when you leave the meeting, if it's already started, you can't get it back.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I just wanted to, be able to. I don't know if we can hit record and have this for her, but also if once I get there, you guys can keep learning and she would want to hear it we play it after, but also hit record for when
Yeah, it's on the Sinai. Lisa, isn't it being recorded? You're muted, Lisa. Lisa, you're muted.
Lisa,
Lisa,
you're
still
muted.
Story of my life. Thank you. I was
bet your
saying,
kids
Ellen,
wish they
that
could do
it's, as we speak, it's being recorded on the Temple Sinai Facebook page.
Okay.
So it's
I'm
been
not
recording for 10 minutes, so you're good to go. It's on there.
okay. And if you could send me the link to my email, just because I'm not on the Facebook page.
It's just go to Facebook and it's Temple Sinai Denver.
And it would be, even if I'm not part of the group, it would be able to, I'd be able to access it. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And Ellen, on your way over there, if you still are on Zoom, if you would please turn off the video. Because some of us can get car sick. I
had the video off. Yeah. No, I understand that completely. Not to worries. I'd be muted and the sound would be off.
No, I don't say muted, but
Video?
the video. Turn the
Sorry,
video off.
the video as well as the
Yeah.
If there's something now, just I can record on her phone for you to say hi and also you Shlema, I'm not pronouncing it correct. And and also just have her have peace and if there's any well wishes, I can just record them now for her.
We'll do it.
Okay.
Ellen, we recorded at the beginning, but why don't you call us when you get there, and then it's easier that way.
Okay.
So we get
what
going and get the program going, and then when you get there, we'll do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your support, and she loves being a part of this. And with her health and being in COVID, I wasn't able to, have them support her getting on this thing, and she's wanted to for over a year. So it really means a lot. So I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll keep it running on my phone, muted with the video off, and keep you guys posted.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys.
Drive carefully.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, Rabbi, before we start,
Why are there two of you?
because I use two monitors.
Oh, okay.
Because I haven't been taking my drugs, and
You're bipolar. Okay.
Yeah, it's not good to me. I don't make fun of mental illness, but no, I just there's really three screens, but you don't want to know about that. That's a different story. I thought, where's Andrea? Andrea on my screen. Wave your hands. Andrea, wave my hands. I thought your words about Ida Goldberger, blessed memory, were really very, very sacred, because Ida was a woman ahead of her time. She was a woman who she was a mother, a parent, a spouse. She was a teacher. She worked before a lot of women worked out of the home for that generation. She was committed to special education, and she loved the kids she taught with. And she was a great partner to her husband. And I don't like to use the word Rebbitzin, but she took great pride in being a Rebbitzin. She loved Dan Goldberg of blessed memory, and she loved and took great pride in him. And after Rabbi Goldberger died, Rabbi Zwerin and I and others made sure she always came to our rabbinical council dinner every year. So Rabbi Z or I would pick her up. We'd drive her to the dinner, and she would just call us afterwards. Oh, that was the most so special. You guys were so kind to me. So and it was just her demeanor, but she was smart. She was insightful. She was wise. And it's an end of a generation, particularly when you're in your 90s and you watch all your friends and everyone else die. So we just say, a righteous person has been laid to rest.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I said that she would call and curiosity would drive the conversation, that was me. How are you? Have you met anyone yet? I'll keep working on it,
Yeah, well, you know what her favorite thing to do, Andrea, was one of the things that you set up with the IJM was, who's the person next week?
Oh, the guess who? She used to call.
She ran a bingo streak. She could name them all, And much like Dan, she can tell you who that person was related to 3 times removed.
Right.
But she took great pride in that. So.
Well, just like Danny could. Danny knew the backstory on every person who ever lived in Denver. So, which is both the blessing and the curse.
Yeah.
Who wants to know everybody's backstory?
Yeah, she was an end of a generation of.
Yeah.
That was I use the word in the modern Orthodox spectrum of things. She was able to find her way and live in 2 worlds, the modern world and the Orthodox world. And then particularly when Menachem, Rabbi Goldberger Jr., I don't like to say that, became very observant, she found a way to make that work because, his levels of kashrut were different than her levels of kashrut, and how they made their way through all that. It was just a fascinating thing. But she was kind, and, she and Joyce Foster, had a very good sistership. She took Joyce under her wing and told her all the things she shouldn't do as a Rebbitzin. And those of you who know Joyce Foster, that's kind of interesting story. But she loved to learn too. She liked text. So
Yeah.
Thank you for your good words about her.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. She was the last of her kind, and I'm not sure that anyone will exemplify being a Rebbitzin like that again, because more often than not, rabbis are married to rabbis, and so you don't have Rebbitzins anymore. You just have another rabbi.
You have rabbits.
Yeah, and that's so sometimes the Rebbitzin of the past was really the rabbi of the congregation, because the rabbi was too involved with other things rabbinic to be concerned as much about the people in the congregation as he might have been, whereas the Rebbitzin sort of, welcomed every baby into the community and welcomed every child, and it was sort of the soul behind the body.
Yeah.
And Ida was definitely that. Anything else? Any other good and welfare?
Yeah, it's not exactly good and welfare, but those of you who were privileged to see the ADL Governor's Holocaust Program, there was a woman who was featured and spoke. Her name was Judy Altman, and she was from Connecticut, actually. She was 96 years old, and she had quite a story to tell. And I actually can't tell her whole story, but I will just tell you one or two little things. This isn't small, but she came from a family of 24 people that were all interred in Auschwitz, and only 3 of them managed to live through that experience. She did, and a nephew and a niece, and they all came to America, and they all became involved in Holocaust remembrance, helping the people who needed food and shelter. And to this day, and she's 96, she's still doing that work. And she still goes around to schools and talks to students and tells them her story. And she's an absolutely amazing woman. And I felt very privileged to be there that night. And I just wanted to share that with you. I think you could actually see a video of that program through ADL. I think it may be on their website, but it is well worth watching the segment of her story that she tells, because she's an amazing woman, and she probably won't be with us much longer.
What was the name?
Her name was Judy Altman.
Thank you.
So this week there was a story that was published in a scientific magazine. I'm trying to find the name. Anyway, the article was called "A Tiny Particle's Wobble Could Upend the Known Laws of Physics." I don't know if anybody saw that, but it was you saw it, Lori? It was a fascinating article about a subatomic particle called a muon, M-U-O-N. And there were a group of scientists, and this did not take place at the CERN collider. This took place at a smaller collider in Kentucky. I think the Jack Daniels collider. I'm not, don't hold me to that.
Very good. Yeah.
Don't hold me to that. So this, at this, oh no, it's the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory in Batavia, Illinois. It operates at minus 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and it studies the wobble of muons as they travel through the magnetic field. And if I knew how to share a screen, which I don't, I would show you what this looks like. It's sort of an amazing conglomeration of what looks like over-the-top science. Anyway, a muon is referred to as a fat electron. It's 270 times larger than an electron. So it's really kind of big, but it's still subatomic. You still can't see it. And the only way you can see it is the evidence thereof through this Fermi collider, which is kept at 450 degrees below zero. So it's in almost absolute zero temperature. And the muon itself, even though it's hundreds of times bigger than an electron, it's sort of the cousin of an electron, has a positive charge. It only lasts for something like 2.2 billionths of a second, which is, shorter period of time than it takes me to button a shirt. Instantaneous. But the thing that really got to me is that muons were first discovered in 1936. I don't know how they did it without the collider, but Rabbi, the scientist, physicist, I.L. Rabbi, discovered them. And now it says muons are produced copiously at places like the Large Hadron Collider, when more ordinary particles are crashed together at high energies. Okay, so far it's just physics, and I'm allergic to physics, but this is what really caught my attention way down in the middle of the article. It's about 20 pages into it, so hang on a second. I gotta scroll down to find it. Oh, come on, where are you?
Hey, Rabbi, I saw that somewhere. Is the Scientific American you found this in?
I don't know where I found it, but it just sort of popped up. So remember when we were talking about demons and angels, and we were talking about the mystics talking about the fact that we can't see demons because if we could, there would be so many of them around us that they would scare us to death. And the same thing with angels. There are so many around us, they would scare us to death if we could see them. So listen to this. Muons owe their current fame to a quirk of quantum mechanics, the non-intuitive rules that underlie the atomic realm. To a certain extent, I have the feeling that 16th and 17th century mystics intuited quantum mechanics, sort of understood that there was a negative world, an antimatter world, a world beyond the world they could understand and could see. Among other things, quantum theory holds that empty space is not really empty, but is in fact boiling with virtual particles that flit in and out of existence. Right? This is modern science and ancient mysticism. You might think it's possible for a particle to be alone in the world, Dr. Polly, one of the professors, said in a biographical statement posted by Fermilab. But in fact, it is not lonely at all. Because of the quantum world we know, every particle is surrounded by an entourage of other particles. That's straight out of Jewish mysticism. Yeah.
I just posted a link to the article in the chat if anybody wants to read it. It's from the New York Times. And I'm impressed, Rabbi, that you got more than halfway through the article.
Oh, well, no, I read the article.
I got that far.
I was sort of fascinated by it. And because I wanted to know where, I had just watched an episode of Dr. Pol. And so therefore anything that went in mu, I was interested in.
Sometimes you need muon for the crossword puzzle. That's about as much connection I had. So.
You absolutely need muon for the crossword puzzle. Yeah. That and ER. Yeah. Anyway, so I just thought that was an interesting article that muons are never alone. Okay.
Do you think that? Wait. Do you think that means that people are never alone?
Yes. Well, I mean that mystically speaking, we are all part of an entourage, an invisible entourage of demons and angels who flit in and out of existence, just as subatomic particles flit in and out of existence. And that's why when you come across these expressions such as the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Ra, the evil inclination and the good inclination, it's almost as if the angels are on one shoulder and the demons are on the other. Not devils, because that's not a Jewish concept. And the demons are on the other shoulder, and they're in battle with each other just to see what they can do to affect the way in which we lead our lives. So we always get to have these choices. And you remember the one really beautiful story about the angels and the demons who follow a person home from shul, and they're wondering how that person is going to spend their day, so one person asked the rabbi, how do we know if the angels, the good angels, will have control over the demons? And the rabbi says, it depends on what choice you make. If you choose to make a good choice, then the angels will say, Amen. If you choose to make a bad choice, then the demons get to say, Amen. The object is to keep the angels in control over the demons. And, you know, that's as Freudian as it is, where it's as psychologically intense as it is religiously intense. So, yeah, Mark.
Ozzy Sladek was on this week giving his Holocaust remembrances. And the one thing that struck me this year that I hadn't heard him say before is that God only answered him when he was thanking God. When he was asking for something, his prayers weren't answered.
Uh-huh.
So I just was associating that with the demons and the angels.
Yeah, for sure.
Rabbi, I was thinking God also has an entourage. And aren't some people considering the muon a God particle? It's there's a lot of people kind of stepping back and going, oops.
like the Higgs boson of a couple of years ago when it was discovered. Yeah, well, they're obviously going to be discovering possibly many subatomic particles as they continue to build more and more sophisticated colliders. Pretty soon the whole world will be filled with colliders, and there won't be any room for anyone else. But that's okay. It's keep the collisions confined.
My thoughts went to the last scene of the third episode, the third season of Shtisel, where the people who are living are gathered around the table and their loved ones who've died come to sit with them.
Yeah. Beautiful. And I think that's also a traditional Hasidic, and possibly even just a naturally Jewish idea that we are surrounded by the souls of those who we have loved, but also the souls of those who they have loved and the souls of the ones they have loved. And it's almost like tracing our DNA back generation after generation after generation, which in itself would make an interesting novel.
How's your novel coming?
It came and went. You'll have to ask Anita Weber because she's probably the only person on earth who's enjoyed the first couple of chapters so far.
Okay.
Anita, why don't you tell them about the novel? Because it would be unfitting for me to tell them.
Well, I hate to say everything spoiler alert, but definitely when you get a chance to read it, it is a little bit revealing of Rabbi Zwerin, and maybe you'll see one of his attendant angels or one of his attendant demons in the thing. That's all I'll say.
I think it's a great read. I think it's not like Rabbi Zwerin at all. It's somebody else, and he's letting them take over. And they took over and they did a great job, these characters.
Okay, Andrea, was it the demon or the angel that took over?
It was a wily angel.
A wily angel.
Yeah.
That's a good title.
Fascinating. Good stuff. I'm sorry. Good stuff. Not what you'd expect.
Yeah, interesting. It's been interesting. I don't know. Lester just finished the book too. What'd you think, Les? You're muted.
Rabbi, where?
There I am. Ray, Rabbi Zwerin, I really enjoyed it. I thought the middle was a little bit Gilbert and Sullivan-ish because all the improbable relationships were borne out, but the ending was worth the whole read, and I recommend it.
Rabbi, where can we get your book?
Well, just send a check for $200 to. You could beg, and I'd probably send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Is this the Nadav and Abihu book novel, or is it a new one?
No, the Nadav and Abihu novel you can get at the temple. It's available at the front desk.
But you're talking about a new novel?
Yes, brand new.
A novel.
A novel.
Okay.
Yeah, a novel. It's called Ice and Dice, a Denver Mystery. I'm not. Anita suggested other titles. She suggested Fathers and Sons, which I thought was a little Tolstoyan, and decided maybe not. But
correction, sons.
Oh,
fathers.
Sons of fathers.
Yes, and that is a little less Russian.
That's a little less Russian. That's right. Sons of fathers, right? Because there are a lot of father-son relationships in here, and they're kind of surprising. I never realized I was doing fathers and sons, but they are. Anyway, anybody who wants to read it can just ask, and I'll send it to them. So let's get on with a little Torah study here. In the last couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago when we left off for Pesach, we had entered Deuteronomy 19. There are 34 chapters in Deuteronomy, so we're sort of pushing the end of Torah here, which is on the one hand good, and on the other hand, a little scary. But anyway, here we are. The object was, after dealing with the laws concerning priests and prophets and kings and the like, we come to this section in Deuteronomy, which talks about the difference between murder and manslaughter. And manslaughter, because we're living in a time in a clannish society where there are no jails, no prisons per se. You can't lock someone up in a tent and throw away the key. So we have we have somewhat of a quandary. What happens if someone should kill another person accidentally? Accidents happen. And in such a society, the idea of vengeance is predominant. You kill someone, then someone will kill you. And that goes all the way back to the story of Cain and Abel. Why did Cain have a mark on his forehead? Not to set him aside as a pariah, so much as to set him aside as a person who should not be hurt by other people. In other words, wherever he goes, do not take vengeance on him, because then the cycle of vengeance will never end. The one who kills the killer will also be killed by someone else in the family or the clan. So consequently, the object was to build places where a manslaughterer, someone who accidentally killed someone, could flee. And they could live in this city. We don't have all the rules and regs for the city. We don't know if family can live with them, but I would assume that family could live with them. Last 2 weeks ago, David said he envisioned these places sort of like kibbutzim, and I could see that that would be pretty much what I'd envision it to be as well, where a person who fled to these cities would also be responsible for working and for participating in community and for sharing meals and for sharing living accommodations and all of the rest of that. They would be responsible for seeding and sowing and reaping and harvesting and taking care of their own needs as a collective community of manslaughterers. And they had to stay in these cities because this was the only safe haven for them for the rest of their lives. So not that these cities were onerous places. They were not, despicable slums that lice-infested, terrible places without any kind of, say, medical care or any kind of religious observance or whatever the people needed. But you were confined to this kibbutz, this city of refuge, for the rest of your life. If you chose to leave it, that was fine, but then you risked the possibility of a person's death being avenged upon you. So I would assume that the only safe time to leave it would be after you had been in this city for a very long time and you were fairly sure that the next generation of relatives of the person who died had also died off, and it was unlikely that the third generation of the Hatfields or McCoys would come after you. On the other hand, we do know one thing about the city of refuge, and maybe let me just say it, and that was that the only exception to this was the death of a high priest. If a high priest were to die, then all of the cities of refuge were free. Everybody could go free, and I guess the regular population was told never to harm anyone who left the city of refuge after that. So I think we read verse 4 before, but let's just read it again. V'zed davar harotzeach asher yanus shama v'chai. Now, this is the case of the rotzeach. Rotzeach is a murderer. That's the sixth commandment, al tirtzach, do not murder. So we're talking about murdering here, but it really should be katel. It should be someone who kills someone as opposed to someone who murders someone. But anyway, it uses the word murder. Zed dvar rotzeach asher yanush shama v'chai. This is the case of the murderer who flees there and lives. Asher yakeh et re'ehu bivali da'at, the one who smote his friend without knowledge, without intention. Here, the word is not da'at, which means knowledge, but it really means without intention, accidentally. V'hu lo sonelo mitmol shilshom. Yeah, we did read this. And he had never before hated him, right? He never before had him as his enemy. Lo soneh means to hate. He never hated him, mitmol shilshom, anytime in the past. Etmol means yesterday, shilshom means 3 days ago. So anytime, it's just an idiomatic expression for any time in the past. So that brings us now to verse 5. So a person who does accidentally kill someone, it's his responsibility to flee to one of these arei miklat, one of these cities of refuge. Va'asher yavo et re'ehu b'ya'ar. So this is an example of what might happen, which tells us a little bit about what it means to be an accidental killer. Asher yavo et re'ehu. Say, for instance, a person should come with his friend, b'ya'ar lachtov eitzim, into a forest to chop trees down, to chop wood, cut wood. V'nidcha yado b'garzen, and he set his hand out and picked up a garzen, an axe, lichrot ha'etz, to cut the wood, v'nashal ha'barzel, and the iron, that is the axe head, nashal, flew off. Min ha'etz, flew off of the wood. Now here, eitz could mean the wooden handle of the axe, or it could mean the wood, the piece of wood that the axe head had struck. So either way, if it bounced off the wood and flew from there, or if it just slipped off the end of the axe handle, either way, it's not a good thing. Vamethu, and his friend, Re'ehu, his friend, died. Right? It's sort of that oops moment. Oh, v'yanus el achat ha'arei ha'ele v'chai. So he should then immediately flee to one of these cities and live. That's the deal, right? Accidental. They went into the forest. They had no intention of doing harm to one another. Accident happens. The axe head flies off. Boom, kills his friend. That man has to now flee and go to one of these cities. So, which brings us now to verse 6, which I think is where we really should be starting. Pen yirdof goel hadam. And this is the whole deal. Pen, which means lest. Pen yirdof goel hadam. Lest the pursuer of vengeance, of blood, come after you. Acharei harotzeach, after the killer. Pen yecham. Ki yecham. Ki yecham levavo v'hisigo ki yirbeh haderech v'hikahu. Okay, so the text is trying to say that once a person is killed, even accidentally, the vengers, the Goel Hadam, the revenger of blood, is going to chase after you. So these cities of refuge have to be somewhat distant from other places in the community to give the heat of the moment, yicham levavo, the burning desire to take vengeance, has a chance to come not to a boil, but to a simmer and to abate a bit. Ki yecham levavo v'hisigo ki yirbeh haderech v'hikahu. So let the cities be far enough away so that the avenger of blood will have a long way to go before he gets there, and before he overtakes this person and hikaho, and kills him and hits him, smites him. V'hikaho nefesh v'lo ein mishpat mavet. So the Hebrew is a little tortuous, but the essence of it is, so flee away to this distant city. It'll give the person who is coming after you a chance to cool off, lest he come and get you right away and kill you, and you didn't deserve to be killed because you didn't do something on purpose. You don't deserve that vengeance. Ki lo sonehu lo mitmol shilshom, because you didn't do it on purpose. You never hated this person at any time in the past. You'd never been enemies together, and therefore get thee to a nunnery, get thee to a faraway city and take refuge, so that the avenger of blood will have a chance to calm down, get rid of his heat, and not want to take vengeance on you because you do not deserve a sentence of death. Essentially, that's what verse 6 is trying to say. Any comments?
Who gets to decide whether it was intentional or not? I'm sure Derek Chauvin thinks, well, I didn't mean to do that to George Floyd. It was, I didn't hate him before this encounter. Gosh, that was too bad.
Yeah.
Does he get to go to one of these sanctuary cities?
Well, yeah, that's a discussion we could have. The deal here is, once the axe head strikes your friend accidentally in the head, and you say, oops, and you know he's dead, and you know you didn't mean it, you run. However, if it strikes him in the head and he's not dead, and you pick the axe head out and you then strike him again in the head, then that's not an oops, right? So,
well, not in my opinion.
Yeah.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
So my English translation in verse 4 says that the manslayer may flee. My English translation of verse 5 says shall flee. How does that reconcile?
They're both in the future tense. So you can translate them in English any way you want. May, shall, can, could, might, will. And you can use any of those operative words. But there's nothing here that says must. Does that answer the question, Steve?
Yes.
There's no, I mean, if it says, if it was like you must flee, then it would be, then there'd have to be another word like mukhrach, someone you have to, and then there would be an infinitive, to flee, mukhrach lanus. It would be totally different Hebrew. This is just future tense, which then gives permission to do whatever the future holds. So there's no mandating here. It's
So
just,
my understanding of US law is that if it's unintentional and not reckless or negligent, there's no crime.
right.
If it is, heat, passion or reckless, there is a crime.
Right. So obviously, if the guy was brought before a court in modern times, they'd want to know all kinds of things. When was the last time you used that axe? Did you check the head before you went out into the forest to use it? How old was the axe? How often have you gone into the forest with your friend to chop wood? Why was he standing so close to you? Had you any influence over where he stood when you were wielding the axe? I mean, you got to be pretty much of a dork to stand in front of a guy who's wielding an axe. I mean, I would stand far off to the side, not in back because the axe goes back too. But if two people walk into the forest to chop wood, I assume both know what they're doing. They're going to chop wood. I'd assume that each of them have an axe, and you would have to assume that both of those axes have been used in the past and have proved that the heads are not wobbly and are more than likely to stay on. But on the other hand, baseball bats, brand new baseball bats, break when force strikes them in a strange way. So the same thing can happen even with a brand new axe. Comes down with a certain force at a certain angle, and the thing can break off and bounce out and can go anywhere. So
I have a question.
Yeah, David.
So the person ran away, and the other guy is after him for revenge, and he hits him, and he kills him.
Yeah.
So this is a killing in purpose. This is not bishgaga.
That's murder.
Now, what happened? What happened to this person? Is this person is gonna stand in trial and they will put him to death?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. But it's also what happens is it turns into a Hatfield and McCoy thing. Then clans or families become enemies of each other forever through generations, and they keep after each other, right? It's it's Romeo and Juliet all over again. It's the Capulets and the Montagues. So it never ends. They're always challenging each other to duels. They're always barking at each other. They're threatening each other for generations. I mean, with mother's milk, a child is taught to hate the other clan. It's insidious, and it's very difficult to break the cycle.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
can we hope that at some point or sometimes there was some understanding and could dispense with the with the need for that person to go to the city of refuge? I guess I'm saying just that were there cases where that law was not invoked and people got sort of a practical turn of mind and did not commit do the law.
Yeah, well, and that was the point of the city of refuge, so that you don't perpetuate this back and forth, forever and ever. That there is an end to it, and the interesting thing is that this is unique in ancient law. That no other society has this alternative. Other societies essentially just continue the bloodshed, and the war between each other, and therein lies the problem. You end up with this warfare that turns into battles between Shiites and Sunnis. That sort of thing. It keeps expanding. It keeps getting larger and larger. There's no end to it, and battles between the Satmar and the Lubavitch. Not that they kill each other, but that they don't have anything to do with each other. But in their arguments over their disagreements over halacha. But peoples have disagreements, but when the basis of the disagreement is bloodshed, man, those disagreements just go and go and go forever. They're just endless.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
I don't know if the Hawaiians qualify as an ancient civilization. They may be maybe less ancient, but they had cities of refuge on the islands.
The Mayans?
I don't know if you call them the Mayans. And I have to look back. I haven't looked up that history in the last 5 years, but I'm not sure you would call them the Mayans.
Oh,
the Hawaiians.
Oh, the Hawaiians.
The Hawaiians. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. They don't have they're not in place now currently, but they did have them. And I think they still have one on one of the islands that's regarded as a city of refuge. I'd have to go back and look up the history of it. I used to know it better.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Oh, I don't Hawaiian civilization, I don't think is as ancient, but
no, yeah.
But the rest of Polynesia might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawaii was settled later.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were settled with the Bible. Unless they created these cities of refuge after the Christian missionaries got there.
I'm not sure. I thought it was before, but I really feel rusty about that history. I'll have to look it up again.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so.
Well, I would go, but Larry said he would call me a little bit.
Yeah, the phone with you.
Okay, so verse 7 comes along, and it seems to want to give us a reason. Al Cain. So therefore, or Al Cain, because of this, Anochi mitzavcha lemor, I command you, saying, Shalosh arim tavdil lach, set aside 3 cities. That's why I command you, set aside 3 cities. Well, we know 6 cities were set aside, 3 on each side of the Jordan River, but set aside 3 cities. So what happens if the territory expands? I mean, that's the real question. That's like saying build 3 prisons. Well, what if you need more than that? What if the number of people who are living within your confines or the area that you need to cover gets bigger? The population grows or the area gets bigger. Now what? Ve'im yarchiv Adonai Elohecha et gavulcha. And if it should happen that the Lord your God increases or expands your borders, right? In other words, you're not expanding the borders. This is a divine thing. God is expanding the borders. If God is expanding the borders, that opens a whole other question. And that question is, if God expands the borders, is Israel entitled to give land for peace? But that's not our purview here. Anyway, I just mentioned that. Ka'asher nishba la'avotecha. If it should happen that the Lord your God expands your borders, as he swore to your ancestors, v'natan lecha, and gave to you at kol haaretz, all of the land, asher diber latet la'avotecha, and he gave all the land that he promised to your ancestors. Well, this is a sentence that starts with if and doesn't have an end yet, which means you have to go to verse 9 to find out if there's an end to this sentence. Ki tishmor et kol hamitzvah hazot la'asota. Then if you keep all of the commandments, these commandments, and do them, asher anochi mitzavcha hayom la'ahava et Adonai Elohecha, which I command you this day concerning the love of the Lord your God, v'lalechet bidrachav, and to walk in God's ways, kol hayamim, all your days, vayasafta lecha od shalosh arim, then you shall add for yourself 3 more cities, al hashlosh ha'ele, on top of the 3 you already have, right? So if it should happen that the land should increase, then add 3 more cities, right? I don't know why it didn't just say put 6 cities in. I don't quite understand what this is all about. Does this mean that Israel didn't take over the east bank of the Jordan River until after they settled inside of Israel? Is this some sort of concession to an expanded Israel? I don't know. I don't quite understand why this is, why this follows upon the first 3. It would seem to me that it should be at the same time, 3 on one side, 3 on the other, because Torah says that the 3 tribes settled on the east side and the other tribes settled inside the land. So I don't know, anybody have a comment or an idea? Let's see.
Part of it might be that we don't know what they're going to do on the other side of on the east side, because the tribes remain behind and do not necessarily have to follow, because they could have taken up pagan ways, but in the west side, am I right in my direction? Yeah. They would be under the laws, and therefore that says if you do this, so to speak, on both sides of the river, then what will happen is, and they'll add cities of refuge on the east side.
Yeah, that's possible. Rashi says that this refers to the Canaanites. And so the Canaanites. And why would Rashi say the Canaanites when we have no idea who the Canaanites are? None whatsoever. There's no mention of the Canaanites in the Torah. But then Rashi says the Canaanites, I mean, there's a mention of them, but we don't know where they lived. The Rashi says the Canaanites are called Canaanites because they are from the Kadmon. And he's citing a source in Midrash, the Midrash to Deuteronomy, which is really a play on words. He's really saying, Kadmon means Eastern. So Rashi is saying the expansion of the territory was to the east side of the Jordan River. They took over the territory of the Canaanites, who were not a people that we know anything about. And they got that name from the word Kenan, which comes from Kadmon, meaning Eastern people. Rashi is always very helpful. Let's see. Ibn Ezra is always good for a laugh. If your border is enlarged, if Israel observes the entire Torah, he says, if you keep all my commandments, the reference is to the commandment dealing with the 3 cities of refuge. So at least Ibn Ezra has held it to a understandable. Let's see what Nachmanides has to say. This section deals with a future event, and I have already mentioned it in the section so and so and so and so shall cut off the nations whose land the Eternal gives you, the 7 nations. Good Lord. You're not very helpful, Nachmanides. Holy smoke, come on, stop quoting things. He did not command in the Torah that there be more than these 6 cities. Oh yeah. Similarly, all commandments of the Torah that become binding after taking possession and settling upon the land become obligatory after the conquest of these 7 nations. He's talking about 7 nations. Only regarding this commandment, however, he added here, and if the Eternal enlarges your border, and he did not say, as he has promised you, as he said in the section, 4 paragraphs of what he said in that section, then another 3 cities of refuge would be designated in addition to the 6 already discussed in scripture. Okay, so Nachmanides is essentially saying God promised 6 cities, but if you should happen to get an even larger border than the borders that were promised that were given to your ancestors, the ancestral promise to go all the way to the Euphrates River and all the way to the river of Egypt and all the way to the river of Lebanon and all the way, then you're going to need even more cities. So you can add another 3 to the 6. Good Lord. Okay, so Nachmanides has visions of grandeur.
Could this make it clear that these cities of refuge are a true gift rather than just another distinctive or something you have, a restriction of some sort? Just that this is like the bounty of God.
Divinely ordained, yes. You have to set these aside. So now the question is, what tribe wants to volunteer some land for a city of refuge? What's in it for a tribe to say, have a city of refuge in my territory? Just as a neighborhood said, what's in it for me to have a halfway house in my neighborhood? What's in it for me to set aside my territory to house a bunch of accidental manslaughterers?
They need jobs.
What do we get out of it?
Well, if they can build a casino.
Well, there might be a ready source of labor, because if they have to go pick up immediately and go to another city, they have to do something. They have to leave their jobs behind, and they could be skilled laborers, unskilled, but there they are.
Well, but they're leaving their job behind for someone else in their territory. They're going now to your territory, and they can't come out of these little cities. In other words, they can't be your labor force because they're an internal labor force. They've got to take care of themselves. So they're just taking up land. But are you going to get something out of this if you let them into your territory? You don't probably have any choice, because if you're the southernmost tribe like Judah, you're going to definitely have a city of refuge in your territory. And if you're a northernmost tribe or one of the northernmost tribes, like maybe, Dan or Manasseh or Naphtali, you're going to definitely have a city of refuge. And then there'd probably be another one somewhere in the middle, and maybe it would fall in Ephraim or, Zebulun.
But would they just be a bunch of people with their families sitting around, unable to work, unable to produce anything, unable to, wouldn't it be a good place to start a pottery bowl making factory or something, because cheap labor?
Well, I think you've got a point. I don't think that these people in the city of refuge are going to get to sit around. If you've spent any time on a kibbutz, people don't really sit around. They work pretty hard for the hours during which they're working, and they rest pretty well when they're resting. But these people are going to have to figure out how to feed themselves. They're going to have to figure out how to take care of themselves. So they're going to have some mini industry. They're going to have to figure out a way to bring in their own foodstuffs. They're going to have to figure out a way how to negotiate with other populations around them for their clothing. They're going to have to work out a trade arrangement. Tomatoes for shirts, whatever, or for shoes, or for pots, cooking utensils. They're going to have to figure out how to dig a well and make sure that they have water supply. They're going to have to figure out where they're going to put their trash in refuge. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to bring in animals and take care of their animals. And essentially how many animals they can have. Could they really have sheep if they are confined to a certain territorial area? The sheep will destroy whatever food supply there is on the ground in no time. And you know, you can't have a manslaughterer taking care of sheep outside of the territory. So
and they could bring excuse me, they could bring their tools with them, I'm sure.
Sure.
And their equipment and their skills.
Sure.
I'm sure it'd be hard. And then, you know, they could set up a market near the border to sell their wares.
Sure.
To others. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Is this
you know, and once a year they could have a killer sale.
Rabbi, this is assuming that others who are not required or motivated to live in these sanctuary cities wouldn't just decide this is a great business opportunity. I think I'm going to go live here and come and go as I please.
Incoming what?
And come and go as I please, because after all, I haven't accidentally killed anyone, so I'm not required to. Well, not required. I can, and you know, there's a good business opportunity for people who could come and go and procure the things that they needed to survive in this city.
Yeah. No, I doubt whether they would. That would be sort of like the ultimate chutzpah. You go to the city of refuge and you hire workers from outside to come take care of you. That would really be the ultimate chutzpah. But I would imagine that people from other communities could come into the community and could trade inside of your community because they have a free pass to come and go as they wish. Okay. Yeah, that certainly would make sense. So if you faithfully observe all this instruction, and Nachmanides says that means the instruction concerning the building of the cities, to love God and walk in his ways at all times, even in the city of refuge, then you shall add cities to those three. And the other part, the part about the high priest dying, this was a way to keep the high priest humble. Even though the high priest was the only person among all the tribes of Israel who ever got to walk into the Holy of Holies and look upon the Aron Kodesh, or maybe not look upon the Aron Kodesh. There's a whole thing in the Talmud about whether the high priest could actually look at the Aron Kodesh. It has to do with burning incense. One rabbi says the high priest should start the incense when he is outside the curtain. Another says he should start the incense inside the curtain. As if to say he can look upon it before he lights the incense. The other says he must not see it, so he must light the incense outside the curtain and walk in with the incense burning in front of him to obscure his view. One says you look upon the Aron Kodesh and you die. And Spielberg said that too in his movie. Look upon the Aron Kodesh and you die. So the high priest could be very haughty because once a year he got to, quote, come closer to God than anyone else in the community. But just knowing that at any given time, there's 3 cities with people in them who are praying almost daily for the death of the high priest is a way to keep him humble, knowing that people are praying for him to die. That's midrashic, but it's an interesting thought. Knowing that somebody hopes his muons will attack him.
I thought that the high priest can go into Kodesh HaKodashim all the time, because they used to tie a rope into his ankle in case he dies while he's inside. They can pull him out.
Right.
So he could go there anytime, I would think so.
Well, no, actually he couldn't. He could only go in on one day of the year, on Yom Kippur.
One day of the year they will tie the rope into his ankle?
Right.
Okay.
Right. From whence we get the concept of house arrest, with a little something around your ankle. I think, because Talmud says very specifically that on the holiest day of the year, the holiest person in the community went into the holiest place and said the holiest word. On that day, the high priest went into the Holy of Holies and pronounced God's name. The only time God's name was ever supposed to be pronounced. So, holy person, holy place, holy time, and holy word, all at one time. A very powerful moment. For those of you who have remember back that far, I once gave on the high holidays. I once gave 3 sermons called "Holy People, Holy Places, Holy Times."
I remember. They were excellent.
Yeah.
Could
Anyway,
you do it again for those who have
weren't
there?
They're in the book, people. They're in the book. 40 Years of Wondering. They're in there somewhere in the 90s, I think. I can look it up and I'll tell you the page number. And, if you need a copy of that book, you can also get it at the front desk at the temple. There's no charge, just ask for it. Okay, let's see. Oh, we're rubbing up against the hour. So next week we can start at verse 10, and the concept of innocent blood not being shed. Okay, that'll be interesting. We can talk about blood. Maybe Rabbi Dan or Rabbi Kaye would like to do a little research on blood and the meaning of blood in Jewish life, and that could be an interesting discussion. We'll start with the first time it's mentioned, with Cain and Abel, and why the Torah says that Abel's bloods are calling from the ground after Cain slaughters him. So if either one of you want to do that, that would be good. Or if anybody wants to do that, for that matter, that would be good. So
sounds bloody to me.
Yeah, well, we can call it Bloody Shabbos. It's good.
Holy cow!
All right, you guys, listen, have a great Shabbos.
Hey,
Later on this afternoon will be the first time that that our
Ellen, you
family
with your mom?
is gathering. This will be our first family gathering in over a year, so should be interesting.
Rabbi Z, hold a second. I think Ellen's with her mom. Yes, Ellen?
Yeah, I'm with Yona right now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
with Yona right now, guys, and so I don't want to blame her and appreciate you guys doing this. I just want to.
Rabbi, could I ask a question? A couple weeks, I'm sorry, go ahead. A couple weeks ago, you said you can't wait to get back to normal, but I thought originally you said you're going to keep the Zoom format.
Yeah.
What do you thought?
Yeah, we're gonna
Rabbi Z, let's go back to what Ellen was saying for a second. We lost you.
I'm
Ellen.
sorry, I missed it. Oh, I was just saying, several weeks ago, you mentioned you can't wait to get back to normal with the class, but I thought you said you would continue with Zoom.
We're continuing with Zoom, right?
Oh, okay, that's good. Especially Les would like that.
Yeah. Ellen, so are you back? Ellen?
Here,
Ellen, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.